Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. Chapter 1. The Little Girl of the Nile. Cleopatra was born in Alexandria, a city filled with light and noise, where ships from every country came to trade. Her father, King Ptolemy, ruled Egypt, but his palace was full of worry and whispers. As a little girl, Cleopatra didn't care about gold or crowns. She loved listening to the waves and watching boats move on the blue water. Servants said she often asked strange questions like, "Why do people fight for power when the river gives everything?" She spent hours learning from teachers who spoke many languages, and soon she could speak to anyone, Greek, Egyptian, or traveler. One morning, when her brother pushed her toy boat into the pond, she laughed and said, "One day I will have my own ship, and I'll steer it myself." No one knew that years later she really would, but her peaceful childhood didn't last long. When her father lost power for a short time, she saw fear in his eyes for the first time. From that day, Cleopatra promised herself she would never be weak in front of anyone. Chapter 2. The Young Queen. When her father passed away, Cleopatra became queen at just 18 years old. She had to share the throne with her younger brother, but he was too young to rule alone. In the grand hall, she wore gold jewelry, but her heart was full of worry. The advisors around her brother wanted to remove her from power. One night, her trusted maid whispered, "They are planning to send you away." Cleopatra packed quietly, took a few loyal guards, and left the palace in secret. For months, she lived near the desert, meeting villagers and hearing their stories. She walked barefoot through the sand, learning how her people lived and suffered. When she saw a poor family feeding a child with their last piece of bread, she said softly, "A queen must first understand hunger." Those days away from her throne made her stronger. She began to plan how to return, not with war, but with wisdom. She waited for the right moment, and that moment came when a powerful Roman general arrived in Egypt. If you're enjoying this, give a quick like. It really helps the channel. Stay till the end. The final moment will surprise you. Chapter 3. The Stranger from Rome. That general's name was Julius Caesar. He came to Egypt to settle royal problems and collect debts. Cleopatra knew this was her chance, but her brother's guards kept watch at every gate. One stormy night, she had an idea. Wrapped inside a rolled carpet, she was secretly carried into Caesar's palace by a loyal servant. When the carpet was unrolled, Caesar was surprised to see a young queen smiling calmly before him. "You risked your life to meet me?" he asked. Cleopatra replied gently, "Only those who are afraid lose what they love." Caesar admired her courage. Over the next days, they spoke for hours about Egypt, about peace, about how to guide a divided kingdom. When he finally supported her return, she didn't celebrate loudly. She simply said, "Now, Egypt will breathe again." But peace was short. Her brother's men refused to accept her rule, and fighting spread around the palace. After long months of tension, Cleopatra stood again as the true ruler of Egypt, wiser, quieter, but more determined than ever. Chapter 4. The Queen Who Listened. Now ruling from her shining palace in Alexandria, Cleopatra worked hard every day. She visited the markets disguised in simple clothes, listening to traders, farmers, and mothers. One fisherman once told her, "The river gives less fish this year." The next morning, she ordered experts to clean the riverbanks. When the harvest failed, she opened the royal stores so no one would sleep hungry. People began to whisper with love, "Our queen cares." But she also knew Egypt was surrounded by powerful neighbors. To protect her land, she built ships and trained her people in trade and farming instead of conflict. She reopened schools and libraries, saying, "A wise country never fades." In the evenings, she wrote notes and letters herself, refusing to let servants do her thinking. Even her enemies started to respect her sharp mind. Yet deep down, she knew that beyond the sea, another Roman leader was rising, and his name would soon change her story forever. Chapter 5. The Meeting of Two Worlds. That leader was Mark Antony, a man of charm and strong will. When Cleopatra met him on her grand ship, she created a moment the world would never forget. The ship sailed on the Nile, decorated with silver sails, music playing softly, and the scent of flowers in the air. Antony was amazed. But behind her beauty, Cleopatra's plan was clear: to protect Egypt by forming friendship with Rome's power. They began working together, making plans for trade and peace. When Antony visited Egypt again, they shared laughter, meals, and long talks about future dreams. They walked through gardens where children played, and Cleopatra often said, "Let them grow in peace. They are Egypt's real treasure." But as their bond grew, others in Rome became suspicious. Rumors spread, and political storms began to rise again. Cleopatra felt it, the calm before the final wave. Still, she stood firm, believing that love and loyalty could save her land one more time. Chapter 6. The Last Dawn of the Queen. Years later, Rome's new ruler, Octavian, sent armies toward Egypt. Cleopatra stayed calm and refused to leave her people. In the golden halls of Alexandria, she said to her servants, "If Egypt falls, I will fall with her." As the noise of battle drew closer, she walked through the palace gardens, touching the flowers one last time. "These will bloom again," she whispered, "even if I do not." When her loyal friends begged her to flee, she only smiled and said, "A queen never runs from her own shadow." Soon, her palace was surrounded. She knew her story was ending, but she wanted it to end with dignity. The next morning, the doors opened, and the Romans entered to find her resting peacefully in her royal chair, her crown beside her. No one knows how she left the world, only that she chose her own quiet way. Outside, the river flowed softly, carrying her story into history. A queen remembered not for her crown, but for her courage, wisdom, and grace. If you learned something new, don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Hit the like button and help us reach more English learners. Subscribe now. One story a day makes your English stronger. Comment your favorite part. I love reading your thoughts. Share this story with someone who loves history and learning.